นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตธัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตธัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตธัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะToday we celebrate many birthdays, the actual birthday and also, shall we say, the spiritual birthday of everyone. If we have the right attitude, every day can be as special as our birthday. So I have spoken a lot about this. Today I'm going to be talking about this, but with a different topic. Today's topic is inspired by the Vietnamese Zen master, the most venerable Thich Nhat Hanh. Unfortunately, he passed away today, 22nd January 2022. At the age of 95. At the age of 95. So he is a world famous meditation teacher in the Vietnamese Zen Mahayana tradition. So today, to honor him and also to honor all our devotees and all our listeners, I choose one word from him as the topic of discussion today. That topic is the art of happiness and the art of suffering. Okay? The art of happiness and the art of suffering. So when we talk about mindfulness, when we talk about Buddhist practice, we can see it, we can talk about it, we can view it from the point of view of arts. Many meditation teachers such as Sai Goenka has also used the word the art of happiness, the art of meditation, the art of happy mind and so on. So they see it as art, because it's very creative. The art of happiness and the art of suffering is the topic for today's Dhamma discussion. What is the art of happiness? I think many people will have opinion about this. But not many people will have opinion on the art of suffering. Many will not have heard of it. Okay. Before I talk about this, I'd like to refer you to one independent study at Harvard University. It's more than 80 years old research. 80 years old means, okay, for the last 80 years, 80 plus years, since 1939, they started studying people and their life. 640 people in Boston area. That included the future President John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was included in this study subject. Some of those people are in their 90s now, as you can imagine, almost 100. not many of them left. So Harvard University has recruited their children, their siblings, and the study still goes on. The director of the study, Professor Robert Wardinger, is a Zen Buddhist practitioner. You can look at this. You can watch his lecture online and also on YouTube. He talks about what makes people successful and happy. So that's how he talked about. They said, okay, every 2 years they measure. Well, they have a set of criterion which they use to study people, including taking people's, giving people a general checkup, interviewing them with psychologists, with social scientists, all those things. At the beginning, they ask young people, what would make you happy? What do you think would make you happy? Over 80% of people think you have to be rich and you have to be famous. Okay? Being rich and being famous, these are the two factors that people think would make them happy. Even today, young people still think, okay, being rich and being famous, together with being famous is something like having a good look, being attractive, okay, adds on to the list. But on the anniversary of 70 years, on the 75th years anniversary of that research, Harvard University gave a big report because they didn't know what they would find when they began their study. 10 years, 20 years, 30, 40 years. They were not quite sure which was the main factor that takes people. They were not quite sure at that time. By 60th anniversary, 70th, 75th, they were quite sure now because things repeat themselves. You can establish a pattern in people's life. So the main factor for people to be happy, and happy means, okay, not just psychologically, but physically you are healthy as well. You have a happy family life. And you are successful as well. So what takes people? They have found out that it's a social skill, social relationship skill. But social relationship skill, what do we really mean by that? Is it a born skill, some kind of skill that we are born with? No, it's something that we can train ourselves to have. We can train ourselves. As you all know, before some 30, 40 years ago, science didn't believe that our brain can change. But today we believe in neuroplasticity, that our brain can change. And we can change it ourselves without drugs, by changing our emotion, by changing our attitude. So we are talking here about EQ, emotional quotient. So by managing our emotion, we actually enhance our social skill. People talk about self-awareness and social awareness. Self-awareness is knowing your emotion and knowing how to manage them. Social awareness is about understanding people's emotion and manage the situation accordingly. So this evening, the art of happiness and the art of suffering. What do we really mean? In Buddhism, in Buddhist philosophy, in Buddhist psychology as well, the art of happiness and the art of suffering cannot be separated. If you know how to be happy, then you will not suffer. You will not suffer much. You will still suffer, okay, but you will not suffer much. If you know how to suffer less, much less than anyone else around you, then you know how to be happy, how to retain your happiness. When you get knocked down by any emotional hurdles, you know how to pick yourself up. That sort of thing, what we are talking about. For many people who are looking for happiness and having a clear idea, they would think that excitement is happiness. Anything that excites them, they think that makes them happy. But excitement doesn't last long. Something new will make you excited, but how long something can stay new? Your clothes, your car, your iPhone, your computer, your house, your holiday destination. How long? Okay. Each of those can stay new in your mind and in your eye. And talk about eating. What kind of cuisine, what kind of dishes can excite you? Maybe 6 days, 7 days, the whole week? Can you imagine which dish can excite you for the whole week? People don't feel excited with the dishes they cook, so they keep changing it. It's almost a crime to repeat it 2 or 3 days in a row. You see. So in the monastery, we are trained, okay, to wear the same uniform every day. And if we get bored with this color, we got to look into our mind. It's not the color that makes us bored, okay? It's the way we relate to this color. It's not the clothes that we wear, that we put on, that is boring. But the way we relate to it is our emotional quality. Okay? The emotional quality is something that we need to pay attention to here. How do we pay attention to it? Because sometimes when we pay attention to something, things just get worse. So we just ignore. But the Buddha is saying ignoring suffering, ignoring pain, ignoring problem is not the way. So in his first sermon or his first lecture, 2,600 plus years ago, The first thing he declared was, we got to be interested in problems. That's what he said. We got to be interested in humans' problem. Physical problem, psychological problem. What kind of physical problem? If I keep talking for more than an hour, you can't stay still, you can't sit still. Your body, okay, will have aches and pains. You see? And this is inherent to our physical body. There will always be aches and pains in our body. We can't run away from it. What we can do then is to relate to this inherent feeling, if you like, the physical aches and pains, with the right attitude. What kind of the right attitude I'm talking here? Okay, whenever you get headache, you are likely to withdraw from the social activity. Okay, you are likely to do that. You are likely to look at things in a more negative way. Why is that? Because at that time, you can't connect with other people. You think they don't have pain, you are the only one having it. By having that attitude, you actually put a barrier between you and other people. Whenever we get criticized, sometimes by our parents, sometimes by our teachers, sometimes by our friends, usually the criticism comes from the people we know. So whenever we receive those negative criticism, we just think, okay, it's not fair. Usually we are caught unprepared receiving those criticism. That is why in Denmark, in their education system, it's by law from the age of 6 to 16, children will have to be exposed gradually to discussion, to different opinions, and then ultimately to criticism. From minor to something major. When you train at a young age like that, it's a lot easier to see that such criticism is common. It's common to everyone. So you develop resilience. When you develop that kind of resilience in the face of negative criticism, you suffer less because you expect it. You expect it. And whenever you receive a critical comment, you also try to connect your experience with other people's similar experiences. By doing so, you don't feel alone. Feeling loneliness is, shall I say, the major symptom of depression. So you can see here, although we may still suffer when we receive negative criticism, but if we know we are not alone, even the Buddha, Jesus, and people in high position, presidents, prime ministers, actors and actresses, billionaires, they all get criticized. So when we have this awareness, When we link our experience to their experiences, then we don't feel alone anymore. So this is part of what I would say the art of happiness and the art of suffering. Another thing is to have mindfulness. To be mindful of what's going on through our mind. What kind of emotion, what kind of thought is going through our mind. In Burmese, in Pali, we call this Setanupattana, contemplation of thoughts and emotion. We can train our mind to be to pick them up, to pick up the signals, the symptoms, like that. If we do so, if we learn how to do so, we pick up the signal of say minor depression, maybe mood swing at an early stage. Meaning we are in a better position, to manage it before it becomes strong, dominant, overwhelming. The art of happiness is in the art of suffering, meaning we have to learn how to live with suffering. We have to learn how to live with criticism. We have to learn how to live with inconveniences. There will be time when you have to wait for the bus longer than usual, for the train longer than usual, for the plane longer than usual. There will be time when you get disappointed by people's behavior, the behavior of the people around you, or maybe the people you adore. On social media, in academia, maybe in your profession. But you got to prepare to face those things. So, the Buddha summarized his own teaching or his own philosophy in 2 words. One is that suffering, the other one is liberation from suffering. He only thought about 2 things and he taught about those 2 things. He spoke about those 2 things and he would only listen to those 2 things about suffering and how to overcome them, how to overcome suffering. We cannot say that, we are safe, we are comfortable, and we don't have suffering. We cannot switch ourselves off suffering. So it's very good to read and to reflect on suffering that is going on in the world, including in Myanmar. When people criticize each other, just trying to connect with the pain on both sides. When people get disappointed, and so on. In Australia, so I don't know if you are a tennis fan, you see, Novak Djokovic has made a lot of news. Yeah, it doesn't matter which side of the arguments you are. It's very important to connect with the pain of both sides. Maybe every side, the government, the tennis Australian, the player, the other player, the people. who choose to be vaccinated, like myself and many others, and who choose not to. No. And this is the art of suffering. If we do so, we will suffer less, because empathy is the quality we will use to connect with those people. Sometimes I like to go back to excitement. Sometimes we think what we are doing is to make ourselves happy. But actually, we are not doing that. We're just making ourselves excited. So today, on many other occasions, I like to say that excitement and happiness, they are not the same. The effect of excitement wears off very quickly. But the art of happiness, if you learn the art of happiness, a very simple act of drinking water. This is hot water. Because it's cold in China, you can see I'm rubbing myself. Okay, just drinking hot water. If I remember the people who made sure that I have hot water on my desk, the electricity is on, and the people who made this cup, this mug, and the people like you, like your families, who dig the well for us. If I remember this water, the value of this water goes up many times. Why? Simply because I feel connected with you. In the same way, when you have done you have done your donation, you have transferred the necessary amount, you have consulted with each other, you have contacted our offices and all those things. What is necessary, one more that is necessary is to connect with how in a day we often feel thirsty. When we feel thirsty, you are there, taking care of us. So if you look at yourself, when you are about to have a drink, soft drink, cold drink, hot drink, you look at the suffering created by thirst. Just give yourself maybe 30 seconds, half a minute. Wait for a while before you drink it. Just look inside. You recognize that pain, that suffering. It happens every day. What happened to many people is that they just go to the fridge and take something out and drink it without paying attention to the importance of water to the body. So the Buddha would think in this way. He would think everything based on problems. What's the problem? What's the problem that makes me drink this hot water? It's thirst. My body really relies on water. You may have heard of Yesun Sayadaw in the Tengu tradition. He doesn't eat. And during his retreat, his meditators, his students are not allowed to eat. And they stay perfectly healthy. It's amazing. It's amazing. I haven't tried that. He is 96 or something, very healthy. 93 or 96. So when we wear our clothes, okay, what's the problem that we have to wear our clothes? When we think about that, when we wear our clothes, we solve that problem. It's too cold and I have to put on more robes today. Before I put on, I reflected on this briefly, that this physical body has its limit in coping with the cold weather. And just as the people everywhere, I saw some people sending me pictures or a short video clip, from England also. They are also wrapping themselves up, just like people in New York. So when we have that awareness, that reflection, every time we put on something, okay, we know how to suffer less and how to be happier. It's the same thing. The same when we eat. Okay, when we eat, why we eat? We eat because this physical body relies on nutrition, on food. And before we eat, if we give ourselves about half a second thinking about this physical body, that it requires food every now and then, every few hours, not just us, but also our neighbors, they're just the same like us. And with that awareness, if we eat, we eat with happiness. Some people, when they don't have this awareness, they get bored with their food very easily, meaning they suffer. They work hard, they buy good food, then they eat their food with suffering. With suffering. They are not happy. So there's no art of suffering, no art of happiness in that. In a meal, in a cup of coffee, in a cup of tea, okay, in a soft drink, in a fizzy drink, anything. Anything. So I'd like to sum up that the art of happiness and the art of suffering, they are the same, they are synonymous. They're synonymous. And if we know how to be really happy, then we know how to suffer less. And that happiness is not excitement. Sometime in the school, at the university, we have to drag ourselves to do something. We don't get excited all the time, because some of the subject that we have chosen, it contains something we are not very interested. We call this at Oxford, we call it necessary evil. People who study in Oxford, they study PPE, there's politics, philosophy, and economics. You can't separate them. There is no separate philosophy course at the beginning. You have to go for all the three. There's the uniqueness over there. But then if you're only interested in philosophy and not in politics, then politics at the beginning is a necessary evil. Then you just have to drag yourselves along. But you can moan and groan unless you look around and see that other people are in the same boat. Sometimes life presents us with that problem. We think we have so much choices and we choose the best. But along the way, even our best choice is not good enough sometimes. If that happens, you need to look at the complaining mind. You need to look at the boredom. You need to look at the rejecting mind, the mind that is rejecting, that is resistant. Look at that. It's a habit. Resistance is a habit. Complaint is a habit. Okay. Anger is a habit. Happiness is a habit. Which habit we establish ourselves in? That's the question we have to answer ourselves. So today I'd like to talk about birthday a little bit. Usually I would talk about this in Burmese, but today I'd like to say this in English. Today is Josu's birthday. You feel special on your birthday. I feel special too on my birthday. Especially when people express care and love and support towards us, we feel more special on the day. But if that special feeling is reserved only for today, and for the rest of the year, 364, we don't get this special feeling, then it's a very big investment to have for this particular feeling on this particular special day. What if we can replicate, if we can repeat this special feeling every day? Every day would look our birthday. How to do that? That is to learn how to suffer less when we cannot avoid suffering. And to retain happiness whenever we achieve happiness through our own effort. Good housing, good food, good clothes, understanding family, good friends, good education, safe environment, all these things, they are factors for happiness. But if you read a book with the title, of the same, that is Happiness, by Matthew Ricard, a French Buddhist monk, a scientist also, is one of his best sellers. Another book of his is Altruism. He studied praying. He is also a meditation teacher. He is a DNA specialist. In that book, Happiness, he said, our gene counts only for 10 plus percent of our happiness. So you cannot really blame the gene. What about the environment? The social status? If we have to live with people, inconsiderate people, that's very difficult to retain happiness. So good environment is also important. Good job, good health, good education, all these things, they matter. But they only matter up to 37%, all of them together. 60+% depends on how you look at the world, meaning your worldview. Over 60% is entirely in your hand. The rest are related to the environment. If you read his book, he would explain you about different projects. Maybe, if I remember correctly, more than 300,000 projects worldwide studying happiness. And he summed them up in his book. So when we talk about mindfulness, when we talk about connecting with other people's pain and offering empathy and compassion, and when we have a good time to appreciate, to learn how to appreciate, to make it a habit to appreciate what we have in ourselves and around ourselves, then we will have learned the art of suffering and the art of happiness. In Burmese, dukha khansa tatta ne pyo shin tatta di nikhu ka khwe cha lo maya bu. Tacho wa dukha ne twai de kha dukha ma khansa tat bu. Dukha thwet pye de kha cha ro thwet pye lo lut la so kaung ne ma mye ran shi ni di dukha. ဘယ်သူကငါဘယ်လိုပြောတယ်ဘယ်လိုပြောဘူးတယ်အဲအကြောင်းအဲ့ဘက်ကငါလုံးဝမသွားချင်ဘူးအဲ့ဘက်ကတော့မသွားတော့ဘူးဒါပေမဲ့ဟိုဘက်မှာနေတဲ့လူတွေရဲ့အကြောင်းကကိုယ်စိတ်ထဲမှာအမြဲတမ်းရှိနေတယ်ဒီဒုက္ခပြေးလို့မလွတ်ပြန်ဘူးအဲ့ဒုက္ခကိုထိတ်တရင်မဆိုင်ဘူးယောနိသောမနတိကာရဆိုတာမှန်ကန်တဲ့အမြင်ပေါ့ right attitude ပေါ့အဲ့ right attitude နဲ့ရင်ဆိုင်ရမယ့်ဟာကိုရင်ဆိုင်ဖို့လေ့ကျင့်မထားတဲ့ခါကျတော့ပြဿနာနဲ့တွေ့တဲ့အခါမှာဒုက္ခနည်းအောင်မနေတတ်ဘူးစိတ်မထားတတ်ဘူးပေါက်ကွဲတယ်ရှိတဲ့ဒုက္ခကိုကိုယ့်ရဲ့မသိစိတ် subconscious mind ပေါ့ဟို Sigmund Freud ရဲ့စကားနဲ့ပြောရင်ဒီ subconscious အဲ့ဟာက multiply လုပ်နေတာ magnify လုပ်နေတာပို့ပြီးတော့ကြီးအောင်လုပ်နေတာပေါ့ကြီးအောင်လုပ်နေတာမသိစိတ်ပါဠိစကားနဲ့ဆိုရင်တော့အဝိဇ္ဇာပိစ္ဆယသင်္ခါရမသိလို့မကြည့်တတ်လို့အမျက်မှန်မရှိလို့သင်္ခါရ react လုပ်တယ်တဲ့ဒုက္ခကိုများအောင်ပို့လုပ်တယ်တဲ့သင်္ခါရဆိုတာဒုက္ခကိုမြောက်လိုက်တော့ multiply လုပ်လိုက်တာပေါ့မှာဘောဓိမြိုင်ဆရာတော်ရဲ့တရားဘုံဘုခန္ဓာကိုးကားပါတယ်ငကိုဒုက္ခကတော့အစိတ်ပဲရှိတယ်တဲ့အစိတ်သားပဲရှိအဲ့ဒါတွေးတာမတွေးတတ်တဲ့ခါကျတော့နောက်ထပ်သုံးမှတ်သားထပ်ပြီးတော့ဖြည့်တဲ့ခါကျတော့တစ်ချက်ပြည့်သွားတယ်ငါးမှုသားဘယ်လိုရုံးဆိုအတိတ်ကိုပြန်တွေးပြီးတော့အတိတ်ကိုပြန်တွေးပြီးတော့ကိုနောင်တရ regret ဖြစ်တာပေါ့ငါအဲ့ဟာမလုပ်သင့်ဘူးအဲ့နေရာမသွားသင့်ဘူးဒီလူနဲ့မပေါင်းသင့်ဘူးဒီလူနဲ့မတွေ့သင့်ဘူးအဲ့ဟာမဝယ်သင့်ဘူးဟိုမလှုပ်တဲ့ဟာတွေလှုပ်မိတယ်ဆိုပြီးတော့နောင်တရတော့ regret ဖြစ်တာပေါ့နောက်တစ်ခုကတော့ငါအဲ့ဟာလှုပ်တဲ့လည်းငါမလှုပ်မိဘူးဆိုပြီးတော့အဲ့ဒါတော့ကိုယ့်အကိုဒေါသဖြစ်တာပေါ့ဒေါသဖြစ်တာတစ်ခုနောင်တရတစ်ခုဆိုတော့ဓမ္မစီဆိုတော့ငါးမှုဆိုသုံးမှဖြစ်သွားတယ်နောက်တစ်ဓမ္မကတော့အနာဂတ်အတွက်ပေါ့ဒီတိုင်းဆိုရင်နောင်ကြငါဘယ်လိုလုပ်မှာတော့ဆိုပြီးတော့ကြိုပြီးတော့တွေးထားတာပေါ့ကြိုပြီးတော့တွေးတဲ့အုံနောက်ကနော်မသိစိတ်ကနေတွေးတာနဲ့သိစိတ်ကနေတွေးတယ်ဒီနှစ်ခုကမတူဘူးလေမသိစိတ်နဲ့တွေးတယ်ဆိုတော့သူ့အလိုလျောက်တွေးတာက break မရှိဘူးနော်သိစိတ်နဲ့တွေးတဲ့ခါကျတော့တွေးတင်တယ်လို့ပဲကိုတွေးပြီးတော့ကိုရပ်နိုင်တယ် break ရှိတယ်ပေါ့အဲ့ဒါမသိစိတ်ဒီ subconscious ကနေပြီးတော့တွေးလိုက်တဲ့ခါကျတော့နောက်တစ်မှတ်ထပ်ပြီးတော့ဖြည့်လိုက်တယ် Dukkha Timpi Champi Pitara. So he paid Upamaka, a yango, or shimbari, they shimbari. Power and error to be Sarah, they shin up. At that time, go a say go a say to my pa, dreary windy day, pa Kansamu windy day. A Kansamu a dreary with checking me your no. Pay lem pen no, Richard Lemalone. Do go leve checking, believe Malone. Go curious PM. So it is absolutely Tabaro, so be May 9. May day, that a thing and the pit, Pina the pit. A thing and Pinas were I Doka Nibido Muivala. Doka, Jatana, Dari Mishibu Sui, a thing and similar. I don't want to count at a comma. Twitter also with a Siaria, Barbados, so Meguni Bidley, Jatanari Bidley, program day, question day Bidley. So life asks us many questions every day. So we have the opportunity to grow out of it. And I would draw a growth mentality quarterly. Professor Carol Dweck Corabano. Harvard University, Stanford University, psychologist professor. Growth mentality. Look at that, acknowledge low day, maybe so now. You now acknowledge low day. Being Titepo Gown and a sobido, young G. At about at the arrow here, a deep. Both at the arrow had out, ha. Payat the king and a bido. Pipi so. Perfectly on Pandida a Yusago Lemacanguli. Ludaria nebido. Go hago, go Josamun and Loya he sure. Warago, young Gitara de Tamulo. Choincha de Luacha de Miran Shini, Boama Miran Shini, Dali Usat, Dali or Lacantare. Allo Lacanacazara, Goa, Nebido, to go show unit who matters when go Pietan Mubido. Tadalo now diarary, Ello Tamubido, Ello Pimesa, Gogo, Karuna, Pianchi Bido. You pick yourself up, go Pian Bido, Nelan 2 on low day. Daddy had the art of happiness, the art of suffering. The art of happiness, the art of suffering. Mimi Koran leve. Doka le on lotta bidakala. Chanda muse chanda mutuka he kanye on lotna boko pipi. The chalude leve eddy duty she out. Lonan Zwan she de Kurinko Patatana Pupoko Mia Picha Vasi. Ke is a chatamena. Ke go loan like so chat. No, oh no. A shimpe ya. Pia de Bido do the champion and Vota Takatu 9. Ye twin a lu, or son a lu, they are jam boy a lu, a sa shito, Gudo Kamu, a susudogo, said not don't and Pia Tang Yi. Sudanja Bako E. Tila Kudo. Wea Wisa Kudo. Bhawana Kudo. Ikudo Kamu. Asusu Dogo Le. Samye Pipa E. Sipu Pipa E. Igudo Kamu. Mia Bounsu Do Town. ရားတပည့်တော်တို့သည်ဘေးရန်ကင်းကွာကျမ်းမာချမ်းသာစွာဖြင့်ကัจจีသုံးပါးကျော်လွှားနိုင်ပါစေကိုယ်တွင်ကိုယ်ပအိမ်တွင်အိမ်ပပြည်တွင်ပြည်ပသာသနာပြုနိုင်ပါစေကုသိုလ်အလုံးဤအဖို့ပါကကိုယခုဘဝရှေးရှေးဘဝတောစัจจသောအမိအဖအဖိုးအဖွာဆေးအာသမာဆွေမျိုးညာတကာအစထား၍30ဘုံချင်းလဲကြကုန်သောဝိနည်းတတ္တဝါအပေါင်းတို့အားအမြအမြဘေးဝေငှပါ၏အမြရ၍ကိုယ်စိတ်နှဖျားကြမ်းကြမ်းမာမာချမ်းချမ်းသာသာရှိကြပါစေသောကုသိုလ်အမြအမြအမြရတော်မူကြပါကုန်တော်သာဓုသာဓုသာဓုကုသိုလ်အမြအမြအမြရတော်မူကြပါကုန်တော်သာဓုသာဓုသာဓုကုသိုလ်အမြအမြအမြရတော်မူကြပါကုန်တော်